You guys, in the comments, I was asked, what would I like for my birthday? I thought about it for quite some time, like a couple of days, and I honestly could not come up with anything, but I remember that I had this little wish list that I've had since 2012. I noticed that there are some items that I realize I had in the wish list and I ended up getting, but I forgot that they were part of the wish list. So I'm like, oh, after all these years, I actually got it. But then there's also another side to it, which is stuff that I feel like I got before it made it to the wish list, because I honestly had this wish list stowed away so deep in my old papers and stuff that I had to dig it up. And then it turns out that I couldn't find it, or I knew I kept it because I had taken it and I had put it in my current journal, which I started about a year ago. So I thought that I would make a video about that old wish list since I found it. And I also want to go over it because I realized that a lot of the things I have in there are interesting. In the end, I'm going to show you guys what it looked like. So I'm going to go through the list and I'll show you what it is that I had and whether or not I got to it. Believe it or not, in 2012, these were the items in my wish list. I had paper, as in legit paper, like notebook paper, notebooks, crayons, but the 100 plus packs, markers, pens, chestnut boots. On the outside, they have the shade of chestnut. It's like a shade between tan and cream and yellow. I don't know, maybe one day I'll show you guys what that meant, but it's basically those boots that pretty much every girl wears during the winter. A white jacket, an iPad, a Mac, a red dress, tape, a Corolla, an Aqua Digio, whatever, that's a perfume, and organic foods. Out of that list from 2012, I of course got the paper, the notebook, the pens, the chestnut boots. I got those in 2021. White jacket in 2018, which I have worn here a few times. It's not quite what I pictured. I always wanted a white jacket that was more of a parka style kind of coat, which I kind of have one, but it's a cream shade. It wasn't white. So that little North Face one, that's fleece that you guys might see, and it's cold outside, that's actually what ended up taking the white jacket place. And I've been content with it until something happens to that one. I consider myself fulfilled with the white jacket. The iPad, I don't have. The Mac, I don't have. The red dress, I got one that's more like crimson, a burgundy kind of shade. You guys may have seen it. If you remember that video I shot outside and I was talking about what girls modeling look like to me, that dress. It's not quite what I pictured, so there's still a part of me that every time I go thrifting, I go to the dress side to see if I see it, but I'm looking for like a basic red shade dress. Like, you know how there's royal blue? Well, the royal red shade is what I'm looking for, but you know, like a basic primary kind of red. But my problem with dresses is that I need them to be specific. I don't like for them to be fitted. I don't like for them to be like U-shaped on the front. It has to be crisscross. I like for them to be more wrap style. I like for them to be, well, for this red dress, I don't want it to be maxi. I want it to be midi, but I want it to be down to my knees, but not completely over my knees, but not completely leaving my knees exposed. Typical female specifics type of thing. And back in 2008, I saw my dream dress at Ross. It was $50, but those were $50 that I did not have, nor my mom had. And it was just perfect shade, perfect frontal cut, perfect length. They had my size, but my bank account was saying otherwise. So that has been haunting me to this very day, and it's haunting me so bad that I should consider going back to Ross, even though it's been so long that they'll definitely not have it after 15 years. But I thought, what if they have another version of it that could be decent and pass well enough for it? But I don't know, there's the part of me that's too scared to go look, but there's the other part of me that's like, I need to let it go. So since I have this red dress, I thought, why am I even wanting dresses for? I don't go anywhere. And it's not like I make dresses a regular thing to justify me getting them in the first place. Tape, of course, I got, and I better have it because I do some shipping nowadays. The Corolla, even though, if you remember what I said about this list, this is the 2012 side, I ended up getting the 2013 model. So it actually worked out in my favor more than what I was asking for. The Acqua di Gio perfume I ended up getting. Somebody got it for me for one of my birthdays way back in the day. And I feel like this actually happened in 2012. So I can say that I got to enjoy that. And the organic foods, around 2012 is when I started to learn about better eating. And I became obsessed about clean eating. So I decided to call it organic. But it doesn't mean that I want to exclusively eat organically grown food, because organic, honestly, it's something that I feel we misunderstand a lot. We may think of organic as superior to conventional because, oh, it doesn't have pesticides and whatnot, but in organic stuff, there is pesticides being used. Maybe they are using organic pesticides as well. But I feel like some people naturally think that something organic is more beneficial for your health, although most of it has to do with the way something is grown and more about the sourcing of it. I think it's not like, oh yeah, eating organic, it's going to decrease my likelihood of disease and stuff like that. So I guess that's a video that I should make on its own. The stuff that I used to think about organic foods versus what I know now, and how I feel like the consumer might be more confused. And it's because I happened to read something that clarified a lot of things for me, that it had me like, this is so deceiving. And I guess that's what they do in the food industry, because it's a business. They're trying to get your money. But yeah, I don't want to get too deep into that. But basically at the time, what I meant by organic was I want to eat healthier. That's when I started eating vegetables, trying things out. That's when I created my monstrosity of a smoothie for the first time ever. And it was so horrible, but somehow my mom was able to mess with it. And I just remember thinking that blending things together like fruits and veggies, it was just magically gonna work out. And I remember I didn't even use a base for it. Like I didn't use a juice, I didn't use water, I didn't use a dairy-free milk. I just put the veggies and fruits together and I tried blending it, and it was horrible, because I knew nothing about it. That was around the first time that I had heard the term smoothie to describe that smoothie juice type of thing, like juiced fruit that we know it to be nowadays. So yeah, 2012 Zam was in development. That's the best way I can describe it. So that concludes my list for 2012. For 2013, I don't have anything, and the reason for that is very simple. That was around the time that I had some of the worst challenges going on in my life. Like if you guys remember my Kansas story, that was happening at that time. And that's when I want to say my economic situation was at its absolute worst. So there was a side of me that's like, what am I doing thinking about things that I want and wishes? And I remember very vividly that at the time, I thought that accomplishing the items in my list so far was going to be so impossible that I should just do away with it. But I ended up saying no, because I feel like I have no obligation to my wish list. It's just stuff that I know exists, that I'm interested in. Therefore, I should consider writing it down. But I told myself as well, If there's something that I think about, that I want, but after some time I forget about it, then it wasn't meant for me. And clearly I can live just fine without it. So around that time, I was developing the mentality that you guys may associate with me nowadays. So my 2014 list actually did see an update. I had sketchbooks, the Phantom Pain, a new cell phone, and Kaz Miller posters. So sketchbooks, I ended up getting too many. I feel like that's a wasted resource now, but there's a part of me that thinks, well, maybe I should turn them into journals that simply don't have any lines. Because when I have bought those sketchbooks, I have looked at them and thought, this would make such a cute journal. And honestly, I like to write more than trying to draw, because it's not like I naturally dominate the art of drawing. But I also told myself, if I have the supplies, maybe that'll motivate me to want to practice. And I also had pens and pencils. So why not? In the end, I ended up not doing anything with those sketchbooks. I have maybe used 3 pages of my really big one, and the old one that I've had since middle school. I tried some stuff, but it looked so terrible that I would just tear the pages and throw them away. It was just a waste, but there was a part of me that had a calling for it at the time. The Phantom Pain, in case you guys don't know, it's a video game. It's from the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And I ended up getting it back in 2020, I believe. It was either late 2019 or early 2020. And I ended up getting it since my brother lived here for some time and he had with himself a PS4. I never had a PS3. I never had a PS4. So him needing to crash here and then move out and not being able to take his stuff with him, or at least all of it, he left his PS4 behind. So I said, fuck it, let me try and experience this. And oh my God, that was such a brain-shattering game, because it helped me realize how out of touch with games I am. And it's not as simple as PS2 generation. That's what I used. That was the last console that I had played. And then I saw that cordless controller started with the PS3, but the mechanics began getting more complicated. I'm glad I had the experience, but I feel like after that game, I am fine. I don't need to go back to a game like that. And I put so many hours into it, over 300 hours. So I'm good. I also had new cell phone, and my new cell phone ended up arriving in 2015. Totally accidental. I'm glad that mom misplaced my iPod Touch, to the point that I bought my iPhone 6 Plus back then to replace my iPod. And that was so terrible. I should have waited one more week when I got this phone, because I got it in like September 7th, 2015. And then I think it was like a week or 2 later that the 6S came out, and I would have had a better phone, brand new, without the bend gate problem, which forced me to ship out my phone for a month. I did not have a phone to get it repaired. And then in 2020, I ended up getting my current one. And this phone, I can tell eventually is going to be on its way out, but we're not going to worry about that until it happens. But I have had a few accidents with this one, and it involves water, but fortunately it's water resistant. And so far, I cannot say that the damage has been significant enough, at least for me to notice it. But yeah, I'm so scared that something might happen to this phone, so I better start making plans for replacing it. But hopefully it has about 2-3 more years of life left in it. I'm good. I just need it to last me a little longer. Kaz Miller posters. It's so silly because I was such a big fan of watching the Phantom Pain at the time that Kaz became my favorite character, and I said, I want a poster of this dude because I think he looks so cool. So in the end, I ended up drawing one, and I think that from that drawing is where the idea came from for me to want actual legit Kaz Miller posters. But that idea is completely scratched. Like, I'm not wowed about that anymore, and I cannot imagine having an obnoxiously huge poster in my room for something that no longer represents me. 2015, my list did see an update, and Nendoroid snake. Nendoroids are, you guys know those Funko things, like where the character is really tiny. It's like an action figure. The body is really tiny, but the head is huge. Well, I wanted that Nendoroid version of Solid Snake. It came out in like 2014, and it's better looking than the Funko. God, I hope they're called Funkos. I might be getting it wrong. But the Funkos have like dots for their eyes. Nendoroid Snake looks more like an anime kind of character. So, despite Metal Gear Solid being more of a live action looking kind of characteristics to the characters, this had a more anime take. And I just thought that he was the cutest thing ever. He could change poses, you could change the weapons on him. And I just thought that it would make the cutest action figure. But it's one of those things that now that it's been like 8 years, I'm like, I really don't need that. I really don't want it. I haven't thought about it. That's out. A foxhound shirt and keychain. I have the shirt and I ended up getting it back in, I think it was 2020 or 2019. And the keychain, I still don't have it. But now that I think about it, I think I'm good. I don't think I need it anymore. I haven't thought of it. I also had a green and neon shoes. In 2019, I had the green shoes. And I legitimately do not remember what they looked like. And then the neon shoes, I had one pair that is like a sea moss kind of shade. I still have them. They're currently my gym shoes, so they're on their way out. Their sole, at least by the heels, is already pretty worn. So I want to say they have about 3 more weeks of life left, maybe less. Allegedly, I got those in 2020, and the reason I've had those shoes for so long is because they were so pretty that I wanted to take care of them for long. So I would only wear them only to go out or drive, but not really for physical exercise. So recently, since my last pair of gym shoes died, I retired them about 3 weeks ago. Then those were the next choice of shoes that I had, running shoes. Eventually, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. And a bicycle. And I'm so glad that I never invested on the bicycle, because one of the items that my brother had with himself when he moved here was a bicycle, but something is wrong with it. I know that the tires definitely need air, but I think that there's something going on with the chain too. I know somebody who knows about bikes and stuff, so we just gotta get like our schedules aligned so that he can take a look at it, let me know what it needs, and then maybe I'll start riding a bicycle. I haven't ridden a bicycle since 2005, so it will be like a relearning experience, because back then I remember that going a month without riding a bicycle made me feel like I needed to get my balance again. So imagine, how long has it been since 2005? 18 years actually. Smartphone, I got that. So I ended up having to relocate to my room because my mom got home and then she needed the bathroom, so whoops. The smartphone, I wanted it more for the camera and the internet. And I remembered that at the time I used to walk outside a little more often, and sometimes I needed to take pictures of things or just need internet to look something up, because I haven't had home internet since 2013. But then I told myself, man, it's just so expensive to maintain one. But that was my feelings and thoughts at the time, because again, I was recuperating from those challenges that I had had like 2 years prior to this. So it's one of those things that I really felt like I was going to be stuck in the situation for a long time. And then another thing that I wanted, and this is so silly, so stupid, just like the pens and pencils and markers and all that, but I wanted a navy LL Bean backpack because I had the black one. And when I was deciding which one to get way back in the day, the battle was between black and navy. Just like with the car, I always said I want my car to be either black or navy, but preferably navy. I ended up getting the black backpack originally, And then when that one completely ripped on me after a while, I had that backpack for years. I ended up getting the navy one. So, yep. And then I ended up getting my mom a dreamy purple one, and she was really happy with it. So, yeah, I can say that I really have had the worst day today. I have had so many interruptions that, anyway, shooting this video is becoming difficult. This is the third take. It'll be the last one. I'm not gonna edit it. I'm just gonna stick it together, get through it, be done with it. 2016, what I had was more of a, more of a philosophical desire. It's one of those things like, oh, I wish I had health. I wish I had peace. I wish I had love, because, you know, when it comes to health, the stuff that I've been struggling with since forever, when it comes to peace, there's like that issue with feeling anxious and stressed that I've always had. I'm like, all I really want is peace. And then the note of love is like, I guess it has to do more with my relationship with my family and how I've always felt like I don't have a good bond with anybody. And even with mom, it's like there's been ups and downs. So yeah, on that note, that's been the more challenging part. And that's been a thing since 2016, because I remember that when I used to make videos, I used to dwell on topics like that very often. And yeah, some of that really hasn't changed. And next to it, I put a note that says, in parentheses, 2021, and it reads, still wanting. So, and then because of what inspired this topic, I tried to go into my online shopping accounts, and I noticed that recently there were a couple of searches that I had performed. One of them was called the Galaxy Light, which interestingly enough, my brother and I happened to be discussing at the same time, but we didn't know it until one of us made the comment. And then that was 2022. And then in 2023, I remember this thing that he had, which is speakers that are Bluetooth, but they sound incredible. It's called the JBL Flip. And I also want a cover for it. But I feel bad about wanting speakers because I have two sets of speakers. One I have had since the year 2009-ish, and they have the old jack. But with my iPod, because my iPod is broken in a way that it doesn't pick up sound, but Bluetooth connection on it is terrible because it's Gen 3. I cannot use my iPod with speakers at all. The only way I can play music out of it is if it's plugged to the computer and I'm using iTunes, or if I plug it to my car using USB, but sometimes my car will reject it because that USB is not a genuine Apple cord. So my car sometimes rejects it, and on the iPod it shows a message, a little triangle warning sign that reads, this accessory does not support playback or something. So my iPod has pretty much been extinct, and then my other music player that I have is an old iPhone 6s Plus that my brother owned. But the problem with it is that it has like this huge black shadow in the screen, and the screen is temperamental. Like I can tap number 8 and number 2 will tap instead. Like it'll push buttons by itself even when I'm not touching the screen either. So unlocking the screen after I've turned it on can be difficult sometimes, and it's not very reliable when it comes to me wanting to edit playlists and stuff, but at least it works more than it doesn't. That when I go on long drives, that's what I use and play using Bluetooth on my car. And then finally, I have another set of speakers that my brother had and brought with him and didn't take with him. And those sound incredible. They're awesome. They're great. They're by the Bose brand. I don't know how you pronounce it. But the catch with those is that they use the USB connection that I guess current gen of iPhones use. I cannot install it to another device because I guess I would need an adapter for that. And the best way to describe it is, you know what the end of a charger USB, God, what do you call it? It's not USB-C. It's like the lightning adapter, not the block, but like the jack that iPhone 11s still have, and then the iPhone 6 Plus is where that jack came out of. God, I don't know how to call those things. I don't know tech vocab, but okay, that opening on your phone where the plug for the freaking charger goes into, from iPhone 6 all the way up to iPhone 11, which is the last one I can speak of because it's the latest one that I own. That little radio speaker system is compatible with that. But to use that one with my current phone, I would need to undo the case. And I hate that because I have a Defender case and I honestly do not know the trick to opening a Defender case the healthy way without breaking and chipping it sometimes. This case is still good because it's a new one, but at some point I was breaking my cases for that reason. So I vowed to never put a new case on my phone unless it's breaking, doing its job, you know, protecting it from falls and whatever. But now with the speaker options that I have, I don't listen to music much at home because, again, the phone that would be compatible with my 2008 speakers, like that old iPhone 6S, I can use the jack on it, like a what do you call that? The freaking cable that on both ends it's the same. Anyway, that, and it can go into the hole, whatever. But remember that sometimes I can't use that phone because the touchscreen is bad. So sometimes I don't get to even unlock the phone and it'll lock itself out for 15 minutes because I have keyed in the passcode wrong many times. But because it has data on it, I don't want to not have the password on it because what if I lose it? And, you know, it could fall on some stranger's hands. So yeah, so for now, I had the idea for that JBL Flip, but then I told myself, this is another Bluetooth device that I have to keep up with and I have to charge. And do I really need another electronic here? I guess the best I can do is try to sell the ones we have, but I don't want to sell them because I don't want to deal with having to sell electronics, you know? So yeah, so for now, in 2023, that's the only thing I have written down, that little speakers, Bluetooth. And I really liked the one that he had. I like how it looks. I like how easy it is to use. But then I said to myself, realistically, I do have speakers, so I'm not gonna buy them unless something happens to these speakers. And seriously, how often do speakers die? I've never had a pair of speakers die on me. So yeah, you guys, it appears that is the end. Yep, that's the end of my list. And it's crazy how old it is, and I still hold on to it. I don't follow it seriously. It's not like, oh my God, I have to fulfill every item that's there. It's just, I like to write. And I said, this is the stuff that's occupying my mind and I'm interested in having. And yeah, let's see what happens. But yeah, I may or may not edit this video considering like the times I got stuck in it. But I don't know. I think I just want to let it out and also just leave it like this, because maybe if one day I watch it again, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember exactly what I was going through that evening, how stressed out I was, and why I was having a hard time going over the list. Because, you know, it's hard for me to make videos these days because my stutter problem is coming back. I feel like crap and my voice is shaking and like I just don't feel normal. But it's okay. It's okay. Like I have seasons like this when I just need help and support and need to take care of myself, but I don't have that. So yeah, I just gotta get through this. It'll be okay.